Reeves Immigration Law Group now brings you Immigration Law on Your Side.
All right, hello and welcome to another episode of Immigration Law on Your Side right here at PHLV Radio. We're on every Wednesday sa bagong programa tayo ngayong gabi mga kababayan, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Pacific Time and 10 p.m. East Coast Time and also 10 a.m. Philippine Time. But you can always watch us anytime on our podcast platforms and also on social media. Siyempre dito po sa Facebook. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat dito sa Amerika. Ito po si Kuya Yo nanggagaling sa Las Vegas, Nevada para sa ating Immigration Law on Your Side. Mainit at medyo mabigat ang ating pag-uusapan ngayong gabi mga kababayan. Kasama na naman natin si Attorney Diza from San Francisco. Ang pag-uusapan natin mga kababayan ngayon ay ang mga krimen that may lead to deportation. Ano po ba itong mga deportable offenses na ito? Alam niyo mga kababayan, criminal convictions or deportable offenses for immigration are major obstacle for some would-be immigrants seeking lawful permanent resident status in the United States. Mabigat ito. And similarly, for some persons already fortunate enough to have the green card or meron na silang permanent residency, criminal convictions can prove troublesome when seeking re-entry sa United States. Halimbawang lumabas po kayo ng Amerika, pagbalik nyo, baka may problema. Kaya ngayong gabi kasama natin si Attorney FJ Diza, partner at Reeves Immigration Law Group, to discuss what are these deportable offenses at mga convictions and the effect on the immigrant status nyo mga kababayan dito sa United States. So let's welcome and bring in Attorney Diza from San Francisco, California. Magandang gabi po sa iyo, Attorney Diza.
Magandang gabi rin sa iyo, Kuya Johan, at lahat ng viewers and listeners natin ng PHLV Radio dito po sa Immigration Law on Your Side. Magandang gabi. At nabanggit mo nga, mainit ang ating balitaktakan at pag-usapan ngayong gabi dahil ang pag-usapan natin ay deportable offenses or crimes that lead you to deportation. Naririnig po natin mga kababayan, right, pag nandito po kayo na wala ng status or kakukuha lang ang inyong green card, naririnig natin sa ating mga kamag-anak o mga kaibigan or even immigration attorneys that you should not do anything that would lead you to radar ng immigration, kagaya ng pag-commit ng offense, right, or pag-commit ng crimes. So ito ang ating pag-usapan ngayon, Kuya Johan, dahil itong mga deportable crimes or offenses are crimes for immigration purposes that have a negative impact sa inyong immigration. So ibig sabihin po niyan, kung kayo po lang ay nag-a-apply ng green card or immigrant visa, it might lead to a denial ng inyong green card, right? Or kung hindi man ho denial, i-refuse muna kayo and the immigration might require you to file a waiver, right? Or kung kahit green card holder na po kayo, pwede rin po kayong ilagay sa removal proceedings or pwedeng bawiin ang inyong green card, or pag nag-citizen po kayo, pwedeng i-deny ang inyong citizenship or naturalization. Or there are instances po, lalong-lalo na yung mga green card holder na may mga criminal convictions, pag kayo po nag-travel abroad, pagbalik ninyo at nakita ng immigration agent ang inyong information sa kanilang system at nakita na may hit, right, may criminal records po kayo, pwede po kayong ikulong, i-detain at i-confiscate ang inyong green card and ilalagay po kayo sa immigration judge for them to take away yung inyong green card. So it's really important mga kababayan natin na kung kayo po ay meron or mga kamag-anak po ninyo ng itong deportable offense, kung may pag-asa pa ba, kung anong paraan. At sa mga nandito at mga bagong dating lang at bagong kuha inyong mga immigrant visa, alalahanin po natin na anything that leads you to arrest or conviction will have an adverse consequence on your immigration status.
Nako, talaga palang kailangan mag-ingat ang ating mga kababayan. And like what we always say, itong period na ito when you have the green card, this is the time na parang kailangan medyo good moral character ka. Kumbaga sa school natin, medyo wag kang gagawa ng something talaga na magiging negative sa iyo. Especially ito palang mga deportable crimes na ito. Attorney, bahayang nasabi nyo na kung sino yung mga pwedeng maapektuhan itong deportation kung meron silang mga krimen na ginawa. Attorney, ilan sa mga itinatanong sa atin Does it matter ba kung, say for example, matagal na siya dito sa United States or maybe well-established ang buhay niya dito, meron siyang negosyo, meron siyang mga pamilya dito. Does it matter, attorney?
It doesn't matter, Kuya Johan, as long as if you are not a U.S. citizen, right? You are still subject to deportation or removal if you commit one of these deportable offenses. So it doesn't matter whether you've been a green card holder since the 1980s, right? It doesn't matter whether you obtain your status through asylum. Doesn't matter whether you have your family members here, you have a spouse, you have children, you have grandchildren, you have a business, right? It will not affect. No? Especially kung ang ating gobyerno, Kuya Johan, ay enforcement priority nila ang mga people who have criminal records. Now, during Barack Obama's time, President Obama and especially during President Trump, right, yung mga may criminal records, even criminal arrest only, would lead to deportation. Lalong-lalo na yung walang status. So, mag-ingat po tayo kahit medyo maluwag na yung panahon ni Biden, hindi natin alam na, pagdating ng ibang administrasyon, magiging maghihigpit ulit sila. And not only that, mga kababayan, I mean, kung meron po kayong criminal conviction at hindi pa kayo US citizen, that would be a ground for the denial ng inyong naturalization because you lack, yung nabanggit mo kanina, Kuya Johan, good moral character for the last period of time, usually 5 years. So, lalong-lalo kung medyo mabigat yan, wala pong timing lang, di ba? Lalong-lalo kung pag-usapan natin mamaya ano yung mga aggravated felony or crime involving moral turpitude. So, keep in mind that it will not only affect yung immigration status, it will lead to denial of your citizenship or removal in the United States.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay, so mga kababayan, let's run down kung ano itong mga crimes na ito that will make you deportable. Attorney, ano po ba itong mga crimes na ito na po pwedeng makapagpa-deport sa isang immigrant?
Well, bago natin discuss yun, Kuya Johan, yung mga deportable crimes, no? Isipin natin mga kababayan natin, if you already are in the situation where pending pang inyong criminal case, let's say you are being arrested or charged, so wala pang disposition ng judge ang inyong kaso, it's really important for you not only to hire a defense attorney, criminal defense attorney to discuss your case mo, but also hire an immigration attorney. Or at least yung criminal defense attorney po ninyo may idea ang immigration because alam natin na minsan yung mga plea agreement, diba Kuya Johan, na okay, umamin ka na lang ng ganito dahil hindi ka naman pupunta sa ikukulong, kundi magpo-probation ka lang, magpo-community service ka. But that kind of conviction, even if there's no imprisonment or jail time, would have an adverse consequence sa yung immigration status. So it's really important to keep in mind to also to seek an advice sa immigration attorney regarding the immigration consequence ng inyong criminal case. So ito na, Kuya Johan, very important na alamin kung ano itong mga deportable offenses. Unahin natin yung crimes involving moral turpitude, yung CIMT na term sa immigration, CIMT or crime involving moral turpitude, that's number one. Pangalawa, yung aggravated felonies, right? Pangatlo, ito yung mga controlled substances. Ito, very interesting na discussion to. We might have a separate discussion about use of drugs. Pang-apat, firearm offenses. Pang-lima would be domestic violence crimes. So, ito yung mga typical and very common crimes na nakikita natin where USCIS or the Immigration Customs Enforcement would prioritize deporting immigrants who have these convictions.
All right. Okay, hinihimay natin mga kababayan na unang nabanggit ni attorney ang itong CIMT. Magandang isa-isa natin kung ano ang definition nito, attorney, at maraming nagtatanong ano po ba itong mga crimes of moral turpitude.
Yeah, the courts defined crimes crimes involving moral turpitude, Kuya Johan, as a corruption of social basic duties that everyone owes to other people and society as a whole, right? So parang very common dyan na hindi dapat mong ginagawa doon because this is against social and basic duties ng isang tao. kagaya ng arson, yung pagsusunog yan, di ba? Assault with deadly weapon, right? Nanakit ka ng kapwa using a deadly weapon. Burglary, ito yung pagpasok ng tahanan ng iba at kumuha ng mga properties ng ibang tao. Cultivation of marijuana. So important to know na, attorney, ang marijuana is already legalized in my state, right? We have some issues with regard to, yung being employed sa marijuana industry, yung mga cannabis ba, Kuya Johan? Marami ng ng parang mga convenience store ngayon na you can buy those, yung tawag nito, yung parang gummies that has cannabis infused. Right, so we usually advise our client, lalo-lalo yung mga hindi pa citizen, to avoid, being employed with these companies because being employed, with a marijuana industry or companies might impact your becoming a US citizen or getting your green card. Right, forgery, yung tawag nito, yung fino-force ang signature ng iba to in order to get some money. Right, grand theft and auto theft, kasama din yan. Kidnapping, murder, possession of sales, controlled substances, receiving stolen property. So ito yung mga very common, Kuya Johan, na will impact yung immigration and define as crime involving moral turpitude.
Mabilis ang comment ng mga kababayan. Attorney, DUI. Saan ito? Where does this fall? Dito sa crimes involving moral turpitude, ano po?
Yes, Kuya Yon, but may mga sitwasyon nga na nangyari yan, di ba? Sometimes even to great people happen these things to you. I mean, committing a DUI kahit ayaw mong nangyayari, right? So pag meron po kayong DUI, one time, two times, okay pa yon, right? Especially mga DACA applicants. In fact, 3 DUIs will disqualify you from applying for DACA, right? Considered as 3 misdemeanors. DUI is considered misdemeanor, Kuya Johan. It does not really involve a crime involving moral turpitude. It becomes so only if there's a bodily injury, right? So for example, DUI na-aresto ka lang dahil sa overspeeding, they found out that, may DUI ka, right? Hindi yan involving moral turpitude. Or let's say, nabangga mo yung poste at wala namang nasaktan, right? May konting destruction of property but it's not big, okay lang din yan. I'm not encouraging you to commit DUI. I'm just explaining na hindi po dapat maapektuhan ang inyong application for green card or citizenship. But if the DUI had some injuries, right, bodily injuries as they said, then it will be considered as crime involving moral turpitude. Or there's a DUI, there was a bodily injury and you flee the scene, right, to avoid being caught, then that's also considered as crime involving moral turpitude. Napaalala rin sa mga kababayan natin na green card holder at gusto mag-citizen, let's say nag-file po kayo ng citizenship ngayon at nagkaroon kayo ng happy hour at hindi naawasan na nag-drive po kayo, right? At nahuli po kayo may DUI and usually yan, Kuya Yon, may probation na 3 taon, right? Ang DUI, lalong-lalo if you reach that certain limit at sinasabi niyo you committed the DUI and wala kang contest, that will impact your naturalization because hindi ka pwede pong mag-citizen not until you finish yung 3-year probation. Kasi lahat ng mga may DUI, binibigyan 3 years probation. Like either you do a class, you do community service, or tapusin mo yung 3 taon na yon. So only then, doon ka palang pwede mag-file ng naturalization. So ingat po dyan, lalo-lalo yung mga nag-file ng citizenship because I have seen many clients consulting with me na, na-file ng citizenship, naghintay lang ng interview, tapos na DUI sila. And I would tell them, look, hindi po pwede yan unless you finish yung probation na 3 taon. Or kung makapag-hire kayo ng magaling na defense attorney to convert yung DUI nyo into what they call as wet reckless or a lesser offense, then na wag lang DUI, then probably, pwede po yung ituloy ang inyong naturalization.
Okay. Attorney, next sa listahan nyo, na nabanggit nyo kanina. Itong deportable aggravated felony. Ano naman po ang mga sitwasyon?
Ito, Kuya Johan, wala ito usually relief sa court, right? Or let's say na-arrest po kayo because of this aggravated felony. Anything that has a conviction of more than a year, right? And very serious crime, like rape, murder, sexual abuse of a minor, drug trafficking. So these are very, very serious offenses that seldom people would be able to get a relief already, right? So if those people have this conviction, then let's say kahit may asawa pa silang citizen or anak na US citizen, may magulang sila, it would be very difficult for them to get a green card. So very limited ang option nila unless those crimes were committed more than 15 years ago, or they are probably eligible for hindi asylum because bad din sila eh. Kung meron silang aggravated felony, pwede siguro yung withholding of removal lang, right? Na hindi sila pwedeng umuwi sa kanilang bansa dahil let's say halimbawa sa Vietnam na may giyera, hindi nila tinatanggap yung kanilang their own national, so wala silang ibang mapuntahan. So the judge might grant them a withholding of removal only, right? No possibility of becoming a green card holder. They just being allowed to stay in the US. So yun ang kanilang limited options if these people are convicted of what was we mentioned, aggravated felony.
All right. Mga kababayan, if you're just joining us tonight or in this episode, this is Immigration Law on Your Side, brought to you by our friends from Reeves Immigration Law Group. Kasama po natin si Attorney Diza, napapanood nyo sa screen via Zoom from San Francisco, California. At ang pinag-uusapan po natin ngayong gabi ay ang mga krimen that will lead to deportation. Attorney, kasunod sa inyong listahan sa itong mga krimen that might lead to deportation ay ang drug crimes. Can you give us more details, Attorney, regarding drug crimes that might lead to deportation?
Yes, Kuya Yon. And this is really a good discussion. Hindi lang yung mga nandito sa US at i-deport sila, kundi this also crimes, Kuya Johan, would have an impact, right? If they're applying for an immigrant visa at the U.S. consulate abroad, halimbawa sa U.S. Embassy in Manila. So then one of the requirements before they issued your visa is to provide your NBI clearance or, police certificate that you don't have any criminal records. So yung pinag-usapan natin ngayon, mga kababayan, is also relevant because if it will impact your immigrant visa. Either they will refuse your visa because of the criminal convictions that you have had in the past, or they require you to do a waiver. Very common dito sa ating mga kababayan ay yung drug use conviction, although the term of immigration is conviction, right? They can also deny you a visa, or they can also deport you by just you being admitting to use of drugs, right? Very common yan, bago natin discuss itong drug cases. Sa Embassy Manila, Kuya Johan, marami sa mga kababayan natin, before they go to the immigrant visa interview, they're required to undergo medical exam sa St. Luke's. Di po ba? So, but part of the physical medical examination is also a psychological examination where they ask you a series of questions about your past, right? Ano po ang problema ninyo, right? Have you used, then merong tanong doon, have you used any recreational marijuana? Recreational in the sense na, use lang naman yan. And sometimes ang mga kababayan natin nagiging, syempre naalala nila when they were high school, probably during a party, Kuya Johan, umamin na, yes, I remember when I was like 16 years old or 18 years old, like 30 years ago, during a party, admitted ako ng isang beses na marijuana, and that could lead you to a denial. The mere admission of drug use can lead you to a denial. I'm not saying that immigration embassy are correct, right, in denying your or refusing your visa, but of course, there's a way out in there that will make an argument that recreational use of marijuana should not impact your immigration status. But nonetheless, Kuya Johan, masyadong mabigat ang drug convictions or drug offenses because the mere use of anything that's prohibited, right, under immigration and nationality law, then you are barred from getting your visa, Right? Any conviction of, let's say, use of methamphetamine o yung mga shabu, right? Kahit maliit lang yan, kung meron kang conviction, walang pinipili yan. You are barred, walang waiver yan. Hindi ka na pwedeng makarating sa US or wala ka ng relief sa immigration. Pag nandito ka and they're trying to deport you. Now, the only exception here, Kuya Johan, with regard to the drug use is yung conviction of a drug use of marijuana less than 30 grams. So, gaano ba kalaki ang 30 grams? Kung less than 30 grams kung na-confiscate sa'yo, pwede mo pang makuha ang iyong visa, immigrant visa or green card, pero you have to file a waiver. May tinatawag natin na 212H waiver. So, but you have to have a spouse or children who would suffer extreme hardship. So, tignan po ninyo, as I said, lalong-lalo na yung mga kababayan natin that they are already in this situation where, they are facing a criminal complaint for drug use or possession. It's really important for you to hire, a very good defense attorney and immigration attorney para i-assess kung ano ang tamang conviction o kung anong pwede mong i-plea at ipaglaban para hindi po kayo subject ng deportation or kung subject man kayo ng deportation, may paraan pa para maayos ang inyong status dito sa US.
Attorney, isa sa mga messages na natanggap natin nung nalaman natin itong pag-uusapan natin is regarding dito sa mga rehabs, Attorney. Say, for example, yung applicant, was an addict before, nagbago na, nagpa-rehab na siya. Will that have an impact na pwede mong sabihin, nagpapa-rehab na po ako ngayon? Is that going to give you a better chance?
Well, Kuya Johan, there are two things here. Usually, they can find you deportable or they can deny you as inadmissible into the U.S. because of being a drug abuser, right? Drug abuser can lead to a denial of your immigrant visa application. That's true, Kuya Johan, even if these things happened many, many years ago, right? But if you have records on if there's records on social media or website na pwedeng search yan, lalong-lalo na we have some, very high ranking government officials or we have had nasa showbiz personalities where they are not able to come here because of their past drug use or drug abuse. So it's really difficult to get a visa and convince them, lalong-lalo kung nasa system na, right? Or nasa online ang inyong records that you were a drug addict or drug abuser.
Wow. Okay, so itong mga pinag-uusapan na ito kasi syempre nasa entertainment industry tayo. Katulad nga, attorney, nang nabanggit nyo, malaking epekto pala ito. Kung gustong mag-concert ni ganito dito or something like that, and this artist, for example, itong singer na itong bandang ito ay well documented na medyo gumagamit, mahihirapan nga pala talaga sila.
Yeah, paalala rin din Kuya Johan, hindi lang sa mga entertainment o mga artists natin na nagpo-concert dito, kundi lahat ng mga travelers natin worldwide, right? As we all know, in California and even Nevada, I think, already legalized cannabis, right? Or marijuana. Where you can buy this cannabis, it's like a convenience store now, right? But if you travel, and remember, ang marijuana or drug conviction drug use is a federal. Under immigration, it's not allowed. So therefore, mga kababayan natin, ingatan po ninyo ang inyong mga luggages. Check po ninyo ang inyong mga bag and luggages kung mayroong mga cannabis dyan or anything that has marijuana-infused gummies. Make sure na wala yan. Kasi pag nahuli po kayo dyan sa airport, right, automatic airport to airport po kayo. Kung kayo po ay nasa tourist visa lang or nasa, employment visa lang. Kung green card naman po kayo at nahuhulihan po kayo ng cannabis at the airport, that might lead you to deportation. So ingat po tayo.
Wow, like what you said, attorney, most likely baka isang episode dito maraming mga itinatanong regarding drug use. Especially nandito kami sa Las Vegas, as you have mentioned, para na lang mga sari-sari store itong mga ito, kung saan-saan na lang. So we'll probably allocate one episode for this, mga kababayan. Kung may mga tanong po kayo, i-comment na ngayon o kaya ipadala sa atin dito sa Immigration Law on Your Side. But ngayon gabi, pinag-uusapan po natin na in general context ang crimes that will lead to deportation at isa lamang ito, ang drug use or drug addiction. At mga kababayan, ang kasunod na pinag-uusapan na namin ni attorney na itong mga crimes that may lead to deportation ay itong domestic violence. Attorney, gaano kabigat po ito, attorney?
It's also a very serious offense, Kuya Johan, deportable offense when it comes to domestic violence that involves also abuse of a minor, right? That also involves stalking this would also lead, yung domestic violence, Kuya Johan, very specific din ito that usually you are living in one residence and that you have a relationship, right? Either boyfriend, girlfriend. So there's a lot of ways for immigration attorneys to look at different ways then kung ano talaga yung wordings ng conviction or what happened, right? There are people who were charged and convicted of domestic violence but for immigration purposes, it's not considered as domestic violence. So lahat yan tinitignan at inihimay natin kasi kung domestic violence pa ang conviction ninyo, that would lead you to a deportable offense. So mag-ingat din po tayo dyan, lalong-lalo na sa mga may mga kasama sa bahay na abusive, ano? At kung kayo po ay biktima, kung kayo po ang victim ng domestic violence, as we mentioned in our previous episode, baliktarin natin, right? Kung kayo po ang victim ng domestic violence, you can apply for what we call Violence Against Women Act or yung battered spouse, or if the spouse is not a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident, pwede po mag-apply ng U visa. Ito yung you are cooperating in the investigation of and persecution of a person, pwede rin kayo makakuha ng visa. But kung kayo po ang perpetrator at wala pa kayong status, right? At you are you are the defendant or the aggressor, then it would have a big impact in your case. Now, sa mga kababayan nating green card holder na, right? Meron mga waivers din yan, which is pag-usapan natin later on. Right? These things happened in the past, right? Many years ago where things are beyond your control at that point. Hindi mo pa alam ang nangyayari or even if you did, pinagsisihan mo na yan and years pass and you're already a reformed person, then probably you can have some relief, right? To fix your status here or be able to get your immigrant visa pag nasa labas po kayo ng bansa.
Okay. Mga kababayan, tuloy-tuloy ang ating discussion regarding crimes that lead to deportation. Ang kasunod sa nabanggit ni attorney nung sinimulan natin itong programa ito ngayong gabi ay ang firearms offense. Attorney, like for example, dito sa Las Vegas may mga gun show dito, may mga even in other areas. What is the effect ng kung meron kayong conviction or crime na gamit ang mga firearms?
Well, i-qualify natin, Kuya Johan, that the conviction is what we call illegal, right? Illegal purchase, right? Illegal use. So, as we all know, dito sa US and most part of the world, allowed naman po legal purchase, di po ba? And part of the naturalization question, have you used any firearms? So, a lot of people carry firearms then, di ba? As part of their job or as part of protection as long as you get a license or a permit. So, okay po yan. Ang pinagbabawal po is illegal use, yung mga binibili dyan sa mga street, right? Or sa mga black market, right? Walang records. Those are also very serious immigration consequence if you are convicted of this firearms crimes. Of course, we all understand na just because, if these are purchased illegally or used illegally, right? Ang consequence yan kung nakapatay ka, especially if the gun was purchased illegally. So keep notes that the illegal should be purchasing, selling, exchanging, possessing, using, and carrying. So lahat dyan, as we mentioned, if they are illegal, then it would also have a serious consequence of your immigration status in the U.S. And a very well-known well-known actor in the Philippines. We don't have to name names, who at one time convicted of crime, right, in the Philippines, even with the family who are a U.S. citizen, I believe, or have some relatives in the United States, are hardly able to get a tourist visa because of conviction of the firearms. So pag-ingatan po natin dahil, as we mentioned, may mga consequence po ang convictions, lalong-lalo na sa mga nabanggit natin na deportable crimes.
All right, mga kababayan, I know we're just barely scratching the surface here sa discussion na ito. Pero maganda na rin yung mga points na i-outline ni Attorney Diza or natin ngayong gabi sa immigration law on your side. Iba't iba. Balikan nyo lamang po itong episode na ito kung late po kayo ngayon at malalaman nyo po kung ano po itong mga crimes na ito that may lead to your deportation. Attorney, as with anything, merong mga post-conviction measures sometimes. What will happen to the applicant? Say for example, meron siyang conviction dati and itong record na ito ay na-expunge or na-vacate. Will this still affect him sa immigration?
That's a really good question, Kuya Johan. Sa mga kababayan natin na may mga cases na ganito, it's really important to discuss yung, let's say, unang-una kung na-aresto kayo pa lang, di ba? Lalo na kung serious offense siya, you have to consult a very good defense attorney and immigration attorney as we mentioned. Now, kung meron na kayong conviction, right, at wala pa kayong immigration case, it's a really good idea then na ipa-evaluate ano ba yung conviction ko at how does that impact? Kasi we also evaluate ang criminal convictions po ninyo. How does it will impact kung kayo pa lang ay nag-apply ng green card, kung kayo ay magsisitizen. So, titignan natin kung kinakailangan po yan magkakaroon ng post-conviction relief. Right, merong decision ng US Supreme Court in Kentucky v. Padilla, right, where ang sinasabi ng US Supreme Court noon na ang defense lawyer dapat ina-advise din ang immigrants or mga undocumented or illegal immigrants, di wala pang papel o mag-green card holder pa lang, the immigration consequence. Now, failure of the defense attorney to advise yung immigration consequence will lead to a mistrial. So pwedeng ipagkaroon ng post-conviction relief yan, Kuya Johan, for failure to give the proper advice on the immigration consequence. So pwede yan. So ang problema lang natin sa post-conviction relief, mga kababayan, is of course medyo mahal yan. You have to hire a really good defense attorney to either reverse the conviction or babaan yung conviction. So instead na felony yan, where the imposition penalty or imprisonment of more than a year, kung pwede mang babaan lang ng 6 months yan or let's say 364 days lang instead of 1 year para magkaroon ka ng relief. Yes, definitely it's a good idea, it's a great idea to vacate and to expunge, right? But there are crimes din, Kuya Johan, the definition are really different. And as we mentioned, it's a really good idea to discuss with the attorney because the expungement, vacation of case, or post-conviction, relief, those are different things. Kasi yung expungement will not impact yung immigration mo. Ibig sabihin, yung case mo would remain the same. So, pero ang post-conviction relief where you have to go back to trial, and seek for a lesser penalty or lesser offense, then it might help you with your immigration. So, yun po ang advice natin, and also titignan din pala natin mga kababayan if kailan nangyari yung krimen ninyo when you were a minor, right? For example, na sinisil po nila yan, but those are not also being considered by immigration lalo kung matagal na po yan.
Wow, okay. So take note mga kababayan. Attorney, at the end of this discussion, what are the possible remedies? Anong mga remedyo para sa ating mga kababayan or any other applicant for an immigrant status if they've been convicted with deportable crimes? What can they do, attorney?
Yeah, unang-una, Kuya Johan, i-evaluate natin yung crime whether we can do a post-conviction relief, right? Especially if those are very serious crimes, right? Post-conviction relief meaning, as we mentioned kanina, either babaan yung penalty or babaan yung crime para hindi magkaroon ng immigration consequence. Pero kung walang paraan para magkaroon ng post-conviction relief, meron tinatawag natin waiver. people who are just applying for green card or immigrant visa sa consulate, meron tinatawag natin na 212H waiver. Ito yung criminal conviction offenses, right? Provided that, the conviction of immoral turpitude and those who are convicted of possession of marijuana, right? Less than 30 grams. Kasi kung over 30 grams yan, Kuya Johan, or methamphetamine or shabu, hindi na yan, wala nang waiver yan. Totally, you're out of luck, right? Or involving of a serious criminal activity, pwede rin yan. And in fact, prostitution is still, even it's some kind of legal in other states like Nevada, I suppose, right, still a violation for immigration purposes. So it's still a big violation, and we call deportable offense. But it can be waived, yung 212H waiver. But as we mentioned in our prior episode, itong waiver na to, you have to prove that your spouse, your children, or your parent would suffer extreme hardship kung hindi po kayo kung hindi po ibibigay sa yung green card, or if you're not allowed to remain in the United States. So may paraan po yan, and it's really a good idea to sit down with immigration attorney and discuss kung eligible po kayo ng relief despite you're having a deportable offense. Now, pangatlo, Kuya Johan, post-conviction relief, then 212H waiver. If you are a green card holder, right, and your offense is not, your crime or your conviction is not an aggravated felony, you've been here in the United States as a green card holder for 7 years, you can apply for cancellation of removal for lawful permanent residence. So in that situation, you also have to prove hardship sa magulang nyo, o sa asawa nyo, o sa minor nyo anak. So those are the three possible ways, Kuya Johan, to fix your status despite your convictions of these deportable offenses.
And they can contact you, attorney, at Reeves Immigration Law Group for consultation. Ano po ba?
Yes, Kuya Johan, we have several offices. I'm based in San Francisco, California. You see our phone number, 415-568-3777. We have also an office in Pasadena, in Los Angeles area, one in Makati, and one in China. By the way, we increased our staff in Makati because there's really a big demand of our kababayans seeking assistance in the immigrant visa and non-immigrant visa at the consulate. So we have now 4 staff assisting in Makati and scheduling interviews. For now, until this time, Kuya Johan, we still offer free legal consultation. You can reach us through our website, our social media. Just call us and set an appointment as Zoom consultation with one of our immigration law specialists at Reeves Immigration Law Group.
Wow, all right. So via Zoom or any other means, o kaya especially mga kababayan natin from the Philippines, some of them email us and then we forward them to Attorney Diza. Maraming salamat po sa pagpapadala nyo ng mga questions, mga inquiries sa ating programa. Attorney, I'll give you the floor. Baka meron po yung ibang mga announcements regarding immigration, if there's anything new right now.
It's getting busier now, Kuya Johan, sa mga immigration offices, local offices. I just came from USCIS San Francisco today before our live taping. Madami ng mahaba ng pila.
Wow.
I guess they're back to kind of normal, where the lobby is quite full. The line is long and the waiting is longer. I hope that we're going back to normal. I mean, this during the 2 years pandemic, ang daming naghihintay natin mga kababayan ng kanilang naturalization or immigrant visa green card interviews. Sa Pilipinas, ganoon din Kuya Johan, marami na rin tayong mga interviews, pero marami pa rin ang delayed, lalo na sa mga preference category. As we mentioned, keep on contacting your attorneys, the status of your case, keep on checking your National Visa Center or the SEAC account kung ano pang status ninyo. Right? If there's a reason to expedite your case, I always encourage mga kababayan natin, if your child or derivative child, yung grandchildren ninyo who are derivative of your petition are aging out, right? If you have medical condition, those are good reasons to expedite your case for the interview at the embassy. Maraming salamat Kuya Johan sa patuloy po nating pagbibigay serbisyo sa PHLV Radio on Immigration Law on Your Side. Hopefully by next time, I already asked our attorneys and partners with Reeves Immigration Law Group, probably invite them to join us with our discussion, right? So that our listeners and viewers, hindi sila magsasawa sa atin. So we have some variety of, attorneys, although they still insisted na kasama pa rin ako sa programa. We can do 2 guests naman, Kuya Johan, as we see on other programs ng PHLV Radio, di ba? So pwede rin yan. So hopefully in our next episode, we'll have one of the partners joining us.
Wonderful. Wow, that is a great one. Sa mga kababayan, tumutok lamang sa Immigration Law on Your Side. Not only we are live at PHLV Radio every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific, but we're also a podcast. So, pwede nyo po kami i-download sa Apple Podcast, sa iHeartRadio, and Spotify. So, Attorney, maraming salamat po for joining us again tonight on Immigration Law on Your Side. And kumusta na lamang po sa lahat ng mga staff natin worldwide ng Reeves Immigration Law Group. Nanggagaling po dito sa Las Vegas, ito po si Kuya Yo ng PHLV Radio, and kami po ay nagwi-wish sa inyong lahat na sana po ay tayo ay maging masaya araw-araw. Maraming salamat po. We will see you next time.
Reeves Immigration Law Group has been representing immigrants for nearly 40 years. Reeves Immigration Law Group has been fighting for its clients through experience and expertise. With immigration lawyers you can access at reasonable fees, even on Saturday. Payment plans are also available. Call us for your immigration solutions. We can do worldwide telephone and Skype consultations. Reeves Immigration Law Group, 1-800-795-8009. Reeves Immigration Law Group has offices in Los Angeles, San Francisco, China, and Philippines. See us at www.rreeves.com. Reeves Immigration Law Group, 1-800-795-8009.
Reeves Immigration Law Group has just brought you Immigration Law on Your Side, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Pacific on PHLV Radio.